Hello and welcome back to the MuthaPrepper channel. Today we're talking about DIY car kits, just how easy these are. This is in the spirit of the 30 Days of Preparedness collaboration with some of your other favorite creators. I've listed them all below, so don't miss out, but let's get into some DIY car kit ideas. Now, before we jump into the goods, I want to have a quick chat about why you should have a car kit in general. Newsflash, we have no idea when an emergency could strike. Now, when I say emergency, I'm not talking about the zombie apocalypse, which could happen. I'm just kidding. Emergencies are going to vary and they're going to be of different severities. So it's important to understand what you'll likely encounter and just being prepared overall. An emergency could be anything from your car breaking down or being stuck in gridlock traffic for hours in terrible weather. It could even mean being stuck in a natural disaster that is suddenly onset. I don't know about you, but I spend a ton of time in my car, and that's for a lot of reasons, whether that's commuting to work, for social events, on my way to the gym, on my way back from the gym, grocery stores, errands. The list goes on and on of the reasons you might find yourself in your own car. I've even used my car as a mobile office when my house is too loud. Guilty. The point is, we're in our cars a lot. Now, with that being said, you want to approach your car kit the same way you do with a lot of your preps. You're going to be looking at ways that you want to stay on top of what you've packed, so knowing what is your gear, what have you packed, and making sure you have a good rotation plan. Not everything that you pack in your car kit, much like your bug out bag or your preps at home, much like those, you're not going to have this instance where you pack it once and we are done. This is not a set it and forget it type of exercise. When you look at some of the things that you'll likely pack in your own car kit, things are going to expire and or go bad or need repair depending on the status of the gear you start packing with. So what I mean by that is things like food, things like water, over-the-counter medication, other things in your first aid preps. All of those are subject to wear and tear over time or expiration, especially if you have yourself a very warmer climate like I do, where it gets really warm throughout the year depending on the season. You'll want to look at your preps and make sure that you have a good plan in place to rotate those things out as they kind of wear and tear and need to be replaced. Now, before you go shopping, I would highly recommend you not only take a look at what you can repurpose that you already own, but make a shopping list. This is going to help you stay focused with what you know you need to purchase that you don't already have for the purpose of your car kit. It doesn't matter if it's a discount store or a high-end store. You want to stay focused with what you know you're going to need in your car kit as you continue to develop this. And again, this isn't going to be gold standard right out of the gate. It's designed to be an ongoing thing that you're constantly reevaluating. What do you have in your preps? What can you add? What can you change? What did you find you made use of last season? So this is an exercise I'd hope that you would get into as far as looking what you need for your car kit and making a plan from the beginning, but also knowing you may make some changes as time goes on. I've approached building a car kit in the form of categories, and I've done this also for my own bug out bag and home preps. So let's get into some of my favorite categories when we look at building out a car kit. Let's start with light and warmth. Now, light and warmth, it's not just going to be limited to having a lighter and having stormproof matches, although those are great starts. You want to make sure you kind of think a little bit larger than that in form of utility. Is there room for you to include a headlamp? If you're making repairs on your car, I cannot tell you how helpful it is to have both hands, not having a hand just limited to holding a flashlight if you're making repair, especially at night. Headlamp, flashlight, flares, emergency blanket, other ways to stay warm, maybe that's extra clothing. You want to try to take a look at what do you know would work best in your situation. Do you have family members that are able to use matches safely when they need to make a fire? Do you have young kids who would probably be better suited having a flashlight as a form of light for them? You want to build in some redundancy into your preps because there are very real situations where maybe you misplace the lighters. Maybe your lighter is not working. Maybe the batteries in your flashlight are out of juice. So you want to take a look at building redundancy, especially for light and warmth. This is especially going to be helpful for situations in a colder climate. Now, every time the season changes here, I'm going through our car kit, I'm taking out the summer clothes and I'm replacing them with warmer clothing for the fall and winter months. Now, we don't get a lot of snow where I am, but imagine if you do, how much more critical that would be having the supply of clothes to keep you warm if your car was to break down and you had zero heat available. That is going to be the difference between life or death in some very, very dire situations. Another category is food and water. Now, I know this sounds like, hey, just pack extra snacks, but I promise you it's a little bit more than that. You want to take a look at foods you know will last at least a few weeks or maybe a few months in your car, depending on the outdoor conditions. Having a reserve of food and water is going to be such a game changer if you find yourself stranded and not really having access to a grocery store or extra food and water in general. First aid and medical. Now, this one's a little tricky because you're going to want to think about what's likely to be needed for your family. Situation's going to be different depending on your family dynamic and again, where you typically will frequent. If you have multiple children and they stumble and fall and have boo-boos quite often, you might want to pack different things, maybe extra things that are geared towards kids. If you have elderly parents that you are with often, you want to consider what are some of their medications that you'll have to keep with you more often rather than having only one supply at home. While standard first aid and medical kits will likely cover a lot of what you would typically need day to day, bumps, bruises, wound care, you also want to make sure you're considering allergies and medication that are specific to the needs of your family. You never want to be caught in a situation where you've left the house and maybe you have an emergency while you are in your vehicle and suddenly you need the medication that is specific to your family member and not have it. One important thing that I want to add on here that I don't often see people calling out. If you are going to keep a trauma response or a medical kit near you, it does not serve you in the trunk. It's great to have the additional items like maybe painkillers, extra gauze, and things like that in your medical portion of your car kit in the trunk or in the back of the car. But if you have a trauma response kit that you really want to make sure it stays accessible, please keep that in the cabin of your car within reach of wherever you typically sit. So for me, when I'm driving and I'm in the driver's seat, if I were to be compromised sitting exactly where I am, or if there's an accident, I can reach my trauma and medical kit right away without challenges. That is because I keep my kit right on the passenger visor, so I can just reach over and grab it, and it has my trauma response kit, chest seals, tourniquet, and wound care right there accessible for when I need it without having to go into the trunk of my car. I've seen a lot of people who are talking about including medical and first aid items in their car kit, and that is great. And yes, I recommend that. But for the items that you would need right away in a very, very dire situation, I would highly recommend you keeping them within reach so that you can act quickly. Another area is communications and navigations, and that could be anything from maps that you have of your local area or the areas that you frequent. It could be flares so that people can see you, or reflectors so that people can see you on the road if it is dark. It can even be as simple as including a compass and a signal mirror in your car kit. Another area of focus is shelter and clothing, and I know I talked a little bit about this with repurposing items, but not only that for warmth, but you want to have a change of clothes for anything as simple of, hey, my kid's clothes got dirty or wet today. Thankfully, I have a change of clothes to, hey, suddenly we are stuck because our car broke down and the weather outside is crazy. So having additional clothing is always going to be something you want to consider for your car kit. Now, shelter doesn't necessarily have to mean you have to keep an entire tent in your car. That would be pretty cool though. But it could be something as simple as rain ponchos or socks or things of comfort that are clothing and able to protect your body. Some stores even sell personal bivvies that you can turn into sleeping bags or overnight shelter in a pinch. Personal hygiene is another area I feel like is not talked enough about when considering your car kit. That can mean extra wipes, that can mean hand sanitizer or waterless soap. These can also include toothbrushes, sunscreen, toilet paper, and trust me, I have been in situations where, thank goodness, we packed extra toilet paper. And for my ladies out there, or if you have women in your family, having extra feminine products is such a peace of mind. Now, tools and defense is pretty broad, and I don't just mean limited to your own personal self-defense tools, which there are many, but tools and defense can include things that you'll likely need depending on different challenges you might encounter. That could mean everything from the right tools to change a tire. It can include a pocket knife or an outdoor knife. It can include a hatchet, depending on when you feel like you might need that for any outdoor activities. It could even include a travel portable lock, which I keep both in my car kit and with me when I travel for work. It can also include some other self-defense options like pepper spray. Other options for tools and defense also include things like duct tape and zip ties, which are so multi-purpose. As far as tools go, I highly recommend you consider keeping a vehicle exit emergency multi-tool in the cabin of your car or somewhere within close proximity to you. Please consider keeping one of these tools in the cabin of your car within reach, because there have been some scary incidents where your car is either overturned and you really cannot even get out to get to the stuff in your trunk. So make sure you have one of these exit tools handy within reach so that if you need to cut your seatbelt off of you or break the glass to exit, you have a tool that should help you. Now, another category that's kind of a catch-all for some people is miscellaneous, and that could be comfort items for your kids. If you find that you're stuck in a dicey situation for a long time in your car, having a comfort item is going to go a long way, especially again if you have young children. Other miscellaneous items can include a child potty. Again, I'm a mom, so my mind is already thinking this. We still have actually a toddler potty in part of our car kit, because we have been in situations where there are no public restrooms. And when you are potty training a toddler, you don't have a lot of time. So it has saved us many times. If you feel that in an emergency, this would be helpful for you, I think it's worth consideration. I recently made a video all about budget preps. So in the spirit of budget preps, I wanted to take you to one of my favorite discount stores and show you just how easy it is to source some of the items you want to put together for your own DIY car kit. Now, enough talk, let's go shopping. I want to show you a few things that you can add today if you're building a car kit, or even add to your existing car kit at a very, very good price. All right, I've parked. We're in front of the Dollar Tree. We're about to go inside. A few things I wanted to make sure I mentioned. Not everything you want to include in your DIY car kit has to be purchased. So what I mean by that is you may actually have a lot of the items already at home, maybe just not being used for the purpose intended, that you could repurpose for your car kit. Maybe that's an extra pair of old shoes that still fit, they're still fine, but maybe they're just not your style anymore. Why don't you include them in your car kit, or even an extra jacket, blanket? You see where I'm going with this. So not everything that you want to include in your DIY car kit has to be purchased brand new. Now, although I'm going to be going into the store and showing you what you can buy at a discount store like the Dollar Tree, take a look around, see what you have, see what you might have multiples of, and ask yourself, is this better served in a car kit, or do I just leave this laying around? So with that, we're about to head into the Dollar Tree. There are a lot of other discount stores like the Dollar Tree, Dollar General. There are a ton that have flash sales, so I would invite you to look at some of those sales, but have an idea of what you want to purchase, where your car kit might be lacking before you head into the store, so you're not like me all the time and just buying a bunch of whatever. You want to make sure that you have an idea of where your car kit could use some improvement as you're buying more supplies. Now, let's head on in. First thing I found were these tea lights. These are really great for the light and warmth category. They don't have a lot of burn time though, so just be conscious of that. Get a multi-pack. There were a ton of lighting options available in the Dollar Tree, everything from battery-powered work lights to push lights. They had a ton of different things to choose from as far as light and warmth. There's even wall tap lights that you can add to your preps right here, just like this one. Again, most of them were battery operated, which was helpful. There were also a ton of flashlights. They're not exactly top quality, keep that in mind, but they were some really good options and felt like I should add that. Now their hardware and utility section is pretty vast, so you can see a bunch of items here. I always find a need for these bungee cords. Of course, I had to have them. There was also the multi-use knife. Now that's pretty standard. You also have gloves that I always recommend keeping in your preps. You never know when you're going to need some. Of course, that came in the cart. tons of rope and paracord, which was really surprising for the Dollar Tree. So I picked up a few of these. There were some other tools like this screwdriver set, which I found really handy. I added some more paracord, of course, and that went right into the cart. There were a ton of options. Drop cloth is pretty handy if you need to make a makeshift shelter or a larger covering from the rain. I also wanted to make sure I grabbed some disposable masks just in case there were things in the air. You can see there's a good amount of feminine products. Stock up on those for the women in your life. Have them in your car kit. A ton of different also hygiene products to select from in the Dollar Tree, which was, again, pretty good supply. You have everything from bar soap to liquid soap. Ton of different options, so pick what you like. They surprisingly had earplugs, tons of first aid items, mostly for wound care. So there's different kinds of band-aids, different colors, different sizes. You can pick and choose what you would like to add. There's even gauze and wrap that were self-adhering wrap. Tons of creams. They do expire, so just keep that in mind. Ways to keep your wounds clean. Now, I know this looks a little rough as far as their over-the-counter medication, but they did have a supply. Here were some of the brand names that I was able to find just in that aisle. There's a lot of comfort items. Again, socks are going to always be something that are comforting. I found the thickest ones, and I took those home with me for the car kit. They also had these clear bags, which were going to be really helpful in organizing my over-the-counter meds in these little smaller loose items. So I wanted to make sure I grabbed those as well. I did actually find the actual rain ponchos, which was helpful. So I grabbed a couple of those in addition to the drop cloth that I added to the cart earlier. There's also scarves, again, not top quality, but in a pinch, this would be extra helpful and comfortable. They also had these antibacterial travel wipes as well as these hand sanitizers that came in individual packs. Now, if you're looking for water, they do have water available. This is a 6-pack for $1.25. Yes, I know it's in plastic bottles, but it's still better than not having water. They also started to sell fire starters. This was new for me. I'd never seen this there. I was able to pick up a few packs and include that in my kit. Beef jerky is one of the things that I like to keep handy as far as food in my car kit, so I picked some up as well. I always like to include a mirror in my car kits just in case I need to use it as a signal mirror. I also went ahead and grabbed more of these puppy pads because accidents happen. By the way, these doggy bags also double as diaper bags when you're in a pinch. If you are a parent like I am, the Dollar Tree is a great place to stock up on activities or small toys for the kids for long trips or as comfort items. I also wanted to make sure I grabbed some scissors in lieu of clothing shears, but just as a multi-purpose tool to have on hand. And of course, you can never have too few fire sources when you're considering emergency preparedness. All right, so by now we've gone to the store, we've got the goods. Now you can start putting together your car kit. Now, a few things before I let you go. Like I said, you can get a ton of really great things to start your DIY car kit at a discount store or at a major big box retailer near you. I know I mentioned it before, but your retailer or your discount store may not have everything you need, and that's okay. This gives you a really great starting point of where you would like to refine a lot of what you've been able to compile already for your own DIY car kit. 2 tips that were shared with me that I have incorporated into my own DIY car kits. First tip is to use packing cubes where you can. So this has been really helpful for me to really organize a lot of the spare clothing that I want to keep in my car kit, as well as maybe blankets, or if I want to make sure that I'm keeping shoes that aren't exactly clean, but I want to make sure that I keep them separate from a lot of the other preps so I'm not spreading the dirt and muck around. I can either use garbage bags, or I can keep a separate bag or packing cube just like this separate for anything that might be a little bit more on the dirty side. Another tip that has really helped me, and this is again preference, I like to use clear bins for my car kit, and this one's pretty generous in size, so it'll fit quite a bit. And I like this. I actually got this from Costco. It's a 3-pack that you can get from Costco today, but I really like this because the clear The clear material helps me really quickly look into my car kit, and if I can relocate exactly what I know I'm reaching for, that's just gonna really help me once I open it and get right to either the tool or the items that I'm looking for. Again, it's preference. I keep my car kit outside of sun exposure and I keep it hidden in either the trunk or the truck bed, so it's not exposed to light, so I don't necessarily have to worry too much about people peering in and seeing my car kit. If you're in a warmer climate like I am, you might want to consider what type of material and the thickness and the durability as you're building your car kit. But for me, because I keep it outside of direct sunlight, it was fine for me and it's lasted quite some time already. But for me, I like to use these clear bins. Regardless of the material, I always recommend if you can get one that has a locking lid. That's really just gonna help keep things organized as you're driving around. If you hit some rough terrain, you don't have to worry about an open bin kind of moving everything over, or if this kind of tumbles in the back seat or the trunk, you don't have to worry about everything that you've organized and taken the time to really pack in there spilling out and getting everywhere. And remember, your car kit is an extension of your preps. And so take the time to really invest in what you're putting into your car kit. Take a look at what you can repurpose. Find ways to be creative with your budgeting and different tools and different items and gear that you want to be able to keep in your car kit, and make a good rotation plan. Just like any part of your preps, whether it's the preps at home or whether you have items that you take camping or food storage, having a good rotation plan, or at least a plan to really check on what you've packed, is going to be critical. We covered quite a bit of things that you can include in your car kit today, whether you have purchased them or repurposed them, and all of which will need to be tested. So test your gear and just make note of what needs to be rotated out. Things like over-the-counter medication, prescription medication, food, water, first aid supplies. You want to just make sure that you have a great plan in place so that you're constantly rechecking and maybe enhancing your car kit as the seasons pass. Don't forget that this is part of a 30 days of preparedness collaboration with some of your other favorite creators. The full playlist is linked below. I appreciate you being here and joining the MuthaPrepper channel, and I will see you next time.